Welcome back, you're watching Storyboard. This week, brand consultancy Chlorophyll celebrated its 15th anniversary. Set up in 1999 by Kiran Khalap, Anand, Halve and Madan, Bahal, Chlorophyll has worked on prominent brands including Unilever, Mahindra two-wheelers and Meru cabs. We caught up with the founders to understand the changing market requirements and the challenge of creating a brand in the digital age. Listen in.
Kiran and Andy, thank you for coming here.
Thank you for having us.
And congratulations on 15 years.
Thank you.
So to begin with, last 15 years have been extraordinary years for advertising and for all parts of advertising, including branding and brands. How would you describe the change in the environment, from the time you started till today?
I think when we started, really, both of us just had this notion that there is no such species as a brand consultancy. There are design houses, there are PR companies, there are advertising agencies. So we had to bootstrap, invent the whole thing from scratch. We didn't really know where the market was, what segments would we attract and so on and so forth. But now if we look at this nexus between brands and business, which is what you're asking, I think that one biggest inflection point has been the internet. And that has led to fundamental changes in the way brands are consumed by customers and consumers, and the way other stakeholders like employees or prospective employees are dealing with them. So there are big, to paraphrase for instance, product brands are now service brands.
Can you describe that?
Earlier you sold a product, the consumer had no way to get back to you. Now she has. So not only do you have to sell that toothpaste, you have to now reply to a complaint, because if you don't reply, she is going to tell 100 other people. The last Nielsen research says 84% of people believe word of mouth and act upon it. So there is no gap. So that product brand has become a service brand. The other big change is that corporate brands are becoming more important than just product brands, because now you have access to what the company does. So Jan 31st, 2011, chairman of Unilever coming onto Facebook, for God's sake, supposed to be just an old people's meeting place, and says, I'm sorry, Unilever will never again test Lipton tea on animals. So the consumer is not relating to Lipton tea, he is relating to the corporate practice. Third, the whole notion of positioning is out. What are you going to position? The whole idea that I will keep repeating something and therefore you will create this little place in your head, but there is no place in my head because there are multiple people telling me about the same thing, and therefore I will not form that one thing, one little position that you want. So there are deep changes of this sort, and Andy and I were discussing that we feel that promoters or people who start their businesses are more amenable to understanding these subterranean shifts, these tectonic shifts that have happened at the brand business nexus. While on the other hand, the marketing fraternity seems to carry the burden, the hangover of the past.
Okay, tell me, Andy, in your case, much of what your company's success is measured by is the number of assignments you get. So selling, like most consultancies, is a very big part of your business. As with lots of other businesses, people want to deal with you, but they don't want to pay a fair price. Would you agree with that statement?
I think everybody is willing to pay a fair price. I think we suffer from a mistaken notion of what exactly we charge. If you talk to anybody that has done business with us, nobody is going to say at the end of it that I think I paid too much, which in a sense is saying that at the end of it, there is no absolute price that has any meaning. But for whatever services we provided, did they feel that they got their money's worth? And I think you will find that they did. So it's a question of what is it that you require, how deep does the understanding need to be, and how rich does the set of recommendations need to be. I think that really is, it is unfortunately one of the myths that we have to deal with, which is, oh my God, we can't talk to them, they are expensive.
To either of you wants to answer, you just spoke of these tectonic shifts. in business. Now that suggests that it's perhaps in many ways cheaper to create a brand, you know, in the sense a smaller company, because of social media and digital and so on, will find it as easy to reach people if they do clever communication and good branding. So is that premise right, that it's cheaper to create a brand today?
Beautiful question. So it's, yes, it's right, but it rests on the notion that the creation of a brand rests on communication.
Right.
Actually, the third big shift, when you talk, in fact, probably the biggest, the tectonic shift because of an inter-networked world, is the notion that the brand has to live up to its truth and will be found out much faster because exactly because of this medium. So yes, if you want to, let's take one good example that we had was Meru. When Neeraj Gupta, the promoter, came and he said, Kiran, what is it? You know, we're just going to call it silver cab or arrow cab or whatever. You know, it's, and we explained to him, it's not that. It's how the driver will dress, what he'll say, how many times the air will be refreshed, what will be the color of the car, what will be written inside, the technology, GPS, all of that. And once he got the hang of it, then he realized, so that while you say that communication is necessary and it's now easier to reach people through communication, it is on the altar of behavior that the brand is tested. That has become the touchstone.
What I'm hearing,
I just want to add to that. You know, this idea that it's cheaper to launch a brand because online space is relatively inexpensive, indeed in some cases free, is actually another great myth. Because the fact is that it's not only inexpensive for you, it is also inexpensive for 14,000 other people.
Sure.
So it's, you know, it's like just having 16,000 books available at a bookshelf. Yeah, sure, it's easy to put it there, but so are so many others. And that creates another challenge, which is that the old notion was that you will differentiate on the basis of product. My product has hexachlorophene, yours doesn't. The problem is that there are only so many chemical molecules available. Look at skin cream, for instance. Everyone, from a chap producing it in a backyard in Nashik to a multinational corporation from Europe, everybody says I have amla. Everybody says I have tulsi. Where's the product differentiation? Therefore, on the one hand, while it is easier, it also means that there are so many others. Add to that one other problem. We have a simultaneity and a paradox. Many people will tell you, especially if you go down to smaller towns or lower down in the socio-economic stratum, everybody wants, humko branded product chahiye. It is a sense of moving up from commodities to a packaged branded product, which is good news for branded goods. The problem is that simultaneously there is promiscuity. I feel terrific when I wear a t-shirt with the swoosh on it. That's the value of the brand. But equally, I'm not wedded to it. Tomorrow I'm wearing another t-shirt. So you have to, on the one hand, is the trend pushing up the demand for branded goods. On the other, is this promiscuity, which is I can't hold on to you. That is the challenge that a brand needs to manage, right. And which means redefining what a brand is.
Right. You know, this loyalty issue or promiscuity, you use the reverse, I was using this side of it. You know, it's frightening because it's the younger the demographic, the more promiscuous they are and the less loyal they are. You know, and that is going to be tomorrow's market. So what are the challenges coming from there? That you invest all this in creating a brand and all the elements that go into a brand, and these kids come and they flirt with you and they flirt with somebody else, they flirt with somebody else.
So they create a basket.
Right.
So this entire notion of a soulless user, which we used to have earlier, that is not there. There is a basket. But the key challenge, therefore, then is the brand vibrant enough? So what the youngster is telling you is, I am going to measure you by what you did for me this morning, not yesterday, not day before, not last month. That is the key.
What I'm hearing from both of you is that any brand which wants to be a brand, actually,
yes,
today has to make significant investments in manpower, in social media, digital and so on.
Absolutely.
But is that part of what you advise to all your clients?
Investments in media, product development, people, is part of the story.
Right.
How much are you willing to invest in an idea? I'm almost reluctant to use this example because it's so often quoted, that Apple is an idea. It is not merely a question of another tablet or another smartphone. Are you willing to stay true to that idea? And that cost is actually a cost of foregoing the cheap and simple option available. That probably is the more difficult investment, not the one about money is available. Today you are aware there's money sloshing around. There are PEs hanging around the gateway. Outside there are 3 waiting right now, saying, "Yaar, a project de do, kahin pe, investment karna hai." Money is not a problem.
I think the phrase we used to use is branding a sacrifice. So, not giving in to the temptation of doing what the rest of the gang is doing is going to lead to a stronger brand. But it's very difficult.
Wonderful conversation. Thank you, Kiran. Thank you, Andy, and all the best for the 15th. Thank you.
Thank
you so much.
Time for another break here on Storyboard. On the other side, Tata Motors drives in its 12th car brand, the Zest.